As a kid, all a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from everybody. Life lesson learned, I better learn from this bitch, nobody. She pushed me around, she didn't give no motherfucks about it. She broke my heart 3 times, but I ain't getting...
Bears are going to be traveling on the road to face the Detroit Lions week 1. And this is a really important game for both of these two teams. And I understand that every game in the NFL is important. But with this being a divisional matchup, week 1, this is a really big game for both of these two teams. Because teams that make it to the playoffs, most of the time, are able to win the games in their division. And when you have two coaches who are presumably on the hot seat, Matt Nagy and Matt Patricia, winning this game not only gives their team a momentum and a confidence boost heading into week 2 because you start out 1-0, but you also start out 1-0 in this division. And making it to the playoffs, most of the time, has teams that win the games in their division. So, when you look at the Chicago Bears, Mitchell Trubisky has been announced the starter. And a lot of Bears fans have a lot of confidence in Trubisky going into this game because he has been pretty good against the Detroit Lions historically. But here's the thing with that. Although Mitch Trubisky has had success against this Detroit Lions and Matt Patricia defense in the past, this is a new season. And this is probably the best defense that the Detroit Lions have put on the field in a very long time. So although Trubisky has been good against the Lions in the past, he hasn't faced this Detroit Lions defense with the talent that they have right now in this roster. You got Desmond Trufant, who they brought in the free agency from Atlanta. He's not a leader or anything like that, but he is a good cornerback. You also got Jeff Okudah, who you drafted in this past year's NFL draft in the first round out of Ohio State. You also got Emmanuel Rouye and Justin Coleman. You also got a pretty good safety tandem with Tracy Walker and Deron Harmon. So Mitchell Trubisky is going to be facing a really good Detroit Lions secondary that he has never faced against. And for the Detroit Lions, you're going to be facing against Mitchell Trubisky. And although Mitchell Trubisky hasn't been great in the past, he has been really good against your defense. And I know that Mitchell Trubisky hasn't been the greatest quarterback, but we don't really know what to expect from him. Because for all we know, Trubisky could come on and flip the switch and be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, or he could just be, not so great like he has been in the past. So I know it's easy to assume that Trubisky isn't going to be good based on how he's performed the last couple of seasons, but we don't really know how good he's actually going to be heading into this season. We're under the assumption that Trubisky is the same quarterback that he was last season, and he may not be that. He may be better. He may have developed and became a really good quarterback. We don't know that. So it is a lot of unknowns in this game. We don't know how great Mitchell Trubisky is going to be this season, and we don't know how good he's going to perform against this improved defense of the Detroit Lions. Now, David Montgomery, we don't really know the status of him being able to play in this game. And for the Chicago Bears to win this game, David Montgomery is going to have to play. It doesn't matter if he's 100% or 6%. He has to play in this game because he is going to be a big part of this Chicago Bears offense, because the Chicago Bears weren't all that great running the football last year. And I know it's easy to put all the blame on Mr. Trubisky, but the Bears not having a good rushing attack was a big disadvantage towards his offense, because at sometimes they got too one-dimensional, and also you got an offensive line that wasn't all that great neither. So David Montgomery has to play in this game. It doesn't matter if he's 6% or 100%. And if the Chicago Bears want to win this game, they're going to have to be able to have success running the football. Last year, they weren't able to establish the run game all that much, and it was a big reason why they went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. And if you're the Detroit Lions, you got to be able to stop the run game for Chicago and force Mr. Trubisky to beat you throwing the football. And I know that may sound crazy to say, because you may be like, oh, JT, you just said early on in this video, Trubisky has been really good against this Detroit Lions defense. And all that is true, the strength of this Detroit Lions defense, this season, without a doubt, is their secondary. The Detroit Lions defense, how good it's going to be, is all dependent on how good the secondary is. Because Matt Patricia comes from that Bill Belichick coaching tree. He has constructed this defense to what he had when he was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots in the past, which has been their secondary. The strength of the New England Patriots defense has always been their secondary. So if Detroit's defense is able to stop the run, the Chicago Bears are going to be playing towards their strength, which is their ability to stop the pass. Now, for the Bears, their offensive line is also a little bit shaky as well. And you're going to be facing the Detroit Lions defensive line that has improved themselves this season, because last year, they weren't all that great getting the pressure on the quarterback. So, the Chicago Bears offensive line, they're going to be tested against the Detroit Lions defensive line that has a lot of depth. Last year, something that plagued the Detroit Lions was their lack of a pass rush. And a big reason why they weren't able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback was because a lot of guys got fatigued. They weren't able to keep guys fresh. Now this season, they got a lot of depth. You got Romeo Okura. You also got his brother as well, Julian Okura. You got Danny Shelton, Trey Flowers, and Deshaun Hand. So you got a lot of talent and a lot of depth on the defensive line, something that you didn't have last season. Now we got to talk about the matchup between this Chicago Bears defense versus this Detroit Lions offense. Now, this Detroit Lions offense, when Matthew Stafford was playing, when he was fully healthy before he got injured, was a top 10 offense. Now, with him coming back, I believe this offense, now that they have a good trio of halfbacks, they just signed Adrian Peterson, you draft Sony Michel, you still got Kerryon Johnson, it should be no reason why the Detroit Lions should not be able to run the football this year. Now, I know it's going to be easy to overly rely on Matthew Stafford because Matthew Stafford played like an MVP candidate before his injury last year, but Detroit has to be able to run the football as well. But the difference between this Chicago Bears offense and this Detroit Lions offense is simply for the fact that the Detroit Lions can win games strictly on Matthew Stafford throwing the football. If you're the Chicago Bears, if you need Mitch Trubisky to throw the football 30, 40 times to win the game, you're SOL. You're not going to have a lot of success doing that. So running the football is more important for the Chicago Bears than it is for the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions don't necessarily have to rush for 100 yards to win this game because they have a great quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And when you look at Matthew Stafford and you're looking at this Detroit Lions offense, you're going to be matched up against a rookie cornerback and Jalen Johnson. Now, Jalen Johnson is expected to be the second best cornerback or the second cornerback on this depth chart for the Bears. So if you're Darrell Bevell and you're Matt Patricia, you're looking at that rookie Jalen Johnson. And if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm Darrell Bevell, I'm testing him right out the gates early. I'm trying to get him in as many one-on-one matchups as possible. Because you have one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL with Kenny Golladay, who somehow, some way didn't make it into the NFL top 100. And you got Marvin Jones. So if you're Detroit, you got to take advantage of Jalen Johnson. You got to see how good Jalen Johnson really is. And if you're the Chicago Bears defense, you got to be able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. Now, you got Robert Quinn and you got Khalil Mack, which I believe is one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. The Bears also have a really good defensive line on the interior, and they still have a pretty good secondary, although I do have a little bit of concerns at their safety position. But other than that, this is a really good team on defense. And this Chicago Bears defense is going to be matched up against this Detroit Lions offense. We're going to be seeing a top 10 offense versus a top 10 defense. So the team that I'm going to be taking to win this game, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to win this game because I have faith in this Detroit Lions defense. Although I have been heavily critical on Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions this past offseason, I do think they have the talent and the pieces set in place to beat the Chicago Bears. Because I don't think the Chicago Bears are going to be able to run the ball successfully, and I don't think that Mitch Trubisky is going to be able to dominate this Detroit Lions defense like he has been in the past with the improvements and the acquisitions that they made this past offseason. So I think that this game will be close, but I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to win this game 20-13. Now, Detroit's offense, I don't think it's going to come out the gate just destroying and throwing bombs on this Chicago Bears defense. I think this Chicago Bears defense is going to be able to keep this Lions offense at bay. But I do think late in the fourth quarter, I think Detroit's going to be able to score. And I don't think Chicago's offense is going to be able to do all that much, because I don't think that David Montgomery, regardless of what the reports are going to say, I don't believe that he's fully 100%. And because of that, I don't think that the Bears are going to have a lot of success running the football. And if the Chicago Bears can't have success running the football, I don't think they have a really good chance of winning this game. So I'm taking Detroit to win this matchup.